You think if she missed you, she'd tell you. She wouldn't. Not when her pride is louder than her emotions, see? When a woman misses you, but won't admit it, she doesn't chase, she watches, she doesn't confess, she tests. And the moment you start begging for clarity, you lose the advantage you didn't even know you had. What I'm about to tell you isn't about tricks or games, it's about the silent behavior she can't control, the signals most men completely miss, and why staying calm, focused, and unreactive is the one thing that makes her emotions surface on their own. If you've ever felt like she cared but never said it, stay with me. This will change how you see everything. Most men miss this because they're looking for loud signals, dramatic confessions, emotional paragraphs, or late-night phone calls. But attraction doesn't work like that. When a woman misses you and refuses to admit it, she doesn't chase. She watches, she doesn't confess. She leaks emotion in controlled ways. And if you don't understand how female psychology actually expresses desire under restraint, you'll mistake interest for indifference and walk away confused. The first secret sign is emotional inconsistency that appears only when you're doing well without her. One moment she's distant, cold, almost uninterested. The next, she's curious, warm, or suddenly checking in. This isn't random. This is internal conflict. When a woman doesn't miss you, she's consistent in her absence. When she does miss you, but won't admit it, her behavior wobbles. She's trying to regain emotional balance while you're quietly disrupting it by not chasing, not pleading, not reacting. Your silence forces her to feel. Your self-control forces her to think. And that tension shows up as mixed signals. Men misread this and think they should push harder. That's the mistake. The inconsistency is the signal. It means she's fighting. Emotions she doesn't want to explain, especially to herself. She might take longer to reply, but never completely disappears. She might respond dryly, but still respond. She might act indifferent in public, but curious in private. That's not a lack of interest, that's restraint. That's someone trying to protect their pride, while their emotions pull in the opposite direction. If she truly didn't care, there would be nothing to restrain. The second secret sign is indirect monitoring of your life. When a woman misses you but won't admit it, she won't ask how you're doing. She'll find ways to observe instead. She watches your social presence. She notices changes in your routine. She picks up on your energy without engaging directly. This is especially powerful when you've stopped oversharing and started living with purpose. Your growth becomes a trigger, not because she wants to control you, but because your progress confirms something uncomfortable. That you didn't fall apart without her, that you didn't beg, that you didn't collapse, and that realization hits deeper than any argument ever could. She might casually bring up something you never told her directly. She might reference something you posted once and never again. She might ask mutual friends questions she pretends are meaningless. This isn't coincidence. This is curiosity masked as detachment. And curiosity is emotional investment. People don't monitor what they don't care about. The key detail is that she doesn't confront you about it. She observes quietly because admitting she misses you would mean admitting she lost emotional control. And that's the one thing she's trying to avoid. Men often ruin this moment by calling it out. They say, "Why are you watching my stories?" Or, "Why do you care now?" That kills attraction instantly. Mystery only works when it's left unexplained. The moment you force clarity, you give her an escape from emotion. Silence keeps her inside it. The third secret sign is subtle attempts to reinsert herself into your emotional space without commitment. She doesn't say she misses you. She doesn't say she wants you back. She sends something small, a memory, a joke only you would understand, a random message that seems pointless on the surface. This is emotional testing. She's checking whether the door is still open without risking rejection. She wants to feel your presence again without declaring her vulnerability. This is where most men fail. They respond with full emotional availability. They over-explain. They show relief. They lean forward too fast. And in doing so, they remove the very tension that made her reach out in the first place. The power of these small messages isn't in what she says. It's in why she says anything at all. When someone truly moves on, they don't test the water. They swim in a different ocean. Her message isn't about the isn't about content, it's about connection. She wants to feel you again, but only enough to soothe the discomfort of missing you, not enough to surrender control. That's why the message feels light, casual, almost meaningless, but emotionally, it's loaded. It's a reach. What makes these signs powerful is not reacting emotionally to them. Strength here isn't coldness, it's grounded presence. When you don't chase, don't accuse, don't demand clarity, her emotions have nowhere to hide. She either leans in more or pulls away completely. And both outcomes give you clarity without sacrificing self-respect. Female psychology doesn't reward neediness. It responds to certainty. When you're centered, when your life is full, when your validation comes from within, her unspoken emotions grow louder. Not because you manipulated her, but because you stopped managing her feelings. You allowed space. And in that space, desire either dies or intensifies. If she misses you and won't admit it, it's not your job to extract a confession. It's your job to remain solid, calm, unreactive, focused. That's what creates safety. That's what creates attraction. And that's what forces honesty, eventually, not through pressure, but through emotional gravity. The truth is, the strongest position you can ever hold is not trying to be remembered. It's being unforgettable by how you carry yourself when no one is watching. When you don't chase attention, attention finds you. When you don't beg for clarity, clarity reveals itself. And when you don't demand emotion, emotion has no choice but to surface on its own. And when emotion surfaces on its own, it's raw, honest, and impossible to fake. That's why patience is power here. Most men rush because silence makes them uncomfortable. They want certainty, they want reassurance, but attraction doesn't grow in reassurance, it grows in space. Space allows reflection, space allows comparison, space allows her to feel the absence of your energy and realize what it actually meant to her. When you keep moving forward, improving quietly, refining your discipline, your body language changes. Even if she never sees you in person, your messages carry less urgency. Your tone carries less need. And that shift alone can be unsettling to someone who was used to having emotional leverage. She begins to wonder where she stands now, not because you told her, but because you showed her through consistency. Another layer most men don't understand is that missing you doesn't always feel good to her. It creates guilt, it creates confusion, it challenges the story she told herself about why things ended or why she pulled away. So instead of admitting she misses you, she reframes it. She convinces herself she's just bored, or just checking in, or just being polite. But emotions don't lie, even when the mind does. And that internal contradiction keeps her emotionally engaged far longer than words ever could. This is why strength without bitterness is so important. If you become cold, resentful, or passive-aggressive, you give her justification to emotionally detach. But if you stay calm, respectful, and focused on your own path, there's no excuse, no villain, no narrative to protect her ego. Just a quiet realization that she might have underestimated your value. And value is felt most when it's no longer freely available. Not because you withheld it to punish, but because you redirected it inward. When your energy stops orbiting her and starts building your life, it becomes noticeable. Scarcity created by self-respect is different from scarcity created by games. One feels manipulative, the other feels real. At this stage, she might increase her efforts subtly, slightly quicker replies, more questions than statements, a shift from neutral to curious. These are not accidents. These are signs of emotional recalibration. She's reassessing where she fits in your world now, and the strongest move you can make is not to rush her conclusion. Let her arrive there on her own. Because when a woman chooses you without being chased, without being convinced, without being pressured, that choice is solid. It's rooted in genuine desire, not fear of loss. And even if she never fully admits she misses you, her actions will reveal what words won't. Your job isn't to decode every signal. It's to remain grounded enough that the signals no longer control you. When you stop needing proof of her emotions, you gain control over your own. And that's the shift that changes everything. And when you gain control over your own emotions, something interesting happens. You stop waiting, you stop checking, waiting. You stop interpreting every pause as meaning something about your worth. That inner calm creates a quiet authority, not loud confidence, not forced attachment, but a grounded presence that doesn't need to announce itself. And that presence is felt even from a distance. At this point, her behavior may shift again. Not dramatically, not with confessions, but with a different energy. She might become more consistent, or she might pull back one last time. This isn't regression, it's testing. She's subconsciously asking whether your stability is real or just a phase, whether your strength remains when attention returns or collapses the moment she leans in. Most men fail here by changing the moment they sense opportunity. They become eager, they start explaining themselves, they rush to lock things down, and in doing so, they break the frame they worked so hard to build. True strength is staying the same regardless of her behavior. Calm when she's warm, calm when she's distant. That emotional neutrality is rare, and rarity creates value. When you don't swing with her moods, she has to adjust to yours, not because you demanded it, but because consistency sets the tone in any dynamic. There's also a deeper truth most people avoid. Sometimes she misses you, not because she wants you back, but because you represented a version of herself she felt good around. Your presence reflected her best traits. Your absence forces her to face what's missing in her own life, and that discomfort can draw her toward you, even if she's not ready for commitment. Understanding this protects you from chasing an illusion. You're not here to fill emotional gaps. You're here to share a life, not patch one. That awareness sharpens your standards. You listen more closely to actions than words. You notice patterns instead of promises. You stop romanticizing potential and start respecting reality. And that shift changes how you show up everywhere, not just with her. Your relationships improve. Your focus deepens. Your self-respect becomes non-negotiable. If she steps forward, you don't meet her with desperation. You meet her with clarity. You don't punish the past. You don't overinvest in the future. You stay present. And if she steps away, you don't chase closure. You continue building because your direction no longer depends on her decision. This is the quiet win most men never experience. Not getting her back, but getting yourself back. The discipline, the focus, the emotional control. Now, and ironically, that's often what makes you magnetic again. Not trying to be wanted, just being solid enough that wanting you feels natural. At this level, whether she admits she missed you or not becomes irrelevant. Her behavior will either align or it won't. And either way, you remain centered, moving forward, unshaken, grounded in who you are and where you're going. And that forward movement becomes your anchor. You wake up with intention instead of anticipation. Your days fill with purpose instead of waiting for a notification. And when your life starts to feel full, something subtle but powerful happens to the dynamic between you and her. You're no longer reacting to her presence or absence. You're responding from choice. This is where emotional leverage completely shifts. Not because you took power from her, but because you stopped handing yours away. When she senses that, it creates a different kind of tension. Not anxiety, not fear, curiosity. She begins to feel like she's the one trying to catch up to your pace, trying to understand where she fits in a life that no longer revolves around her validation. She might start opening up in ways she never did before, sharing thoughts, asking deeper questions, testing emotional depth rather than surface connection. This isn't accidental. It's her attempting to rebuild relevance without directly admitting how much your absence affected her. And again, your response matters. You don't interrogate. You don't overanalyze. You stay present without overcommitting. You allow depth without dependency. Another thing most men overlook is how attraction responds to unpredictability rooted in growth, not chaos, not inconsistency, but evolution. When you're no longer the same man she left or pulled away from, her old assumptions don't apply. She can't predict your reactions. She can't rely on old emotional patterns, and uncertainty mixed with respect is one of the strongest emotional triggers there is. At times, she may even challenge you, question your distance, make comments designed to pull a reaction. Then this isn't hostility, it's confirmation seeking. She wants to know if she still matters. The difference now is you don't rush to reassure. You don't withdraw either. You remain composed. And that composure communicates confidence louder than any words. What you're building here goes beyond one person. It's a mindset, a standard. You stop negotiating your worth based on attention. You stop attaching your peace to someone else's emotions. And once that boundary is set internally, it reflects externally in every interaction. People treat you differently when you treat yourself differently. If she chooses to step fully into your life again, it happens on equal footing. No chasing, no imbalance, just mutual interest. And if she doesn't, the absence no longer feels like loss. It feels like alignment because you're no longer trying to convince anyone of your value. You're living it. And that's the point most people never reach, where desire becomes optional, where validation is internal, where connection is chosen, not needed. From that place, everything changes. Not because you demanded it, but because you finally stopped settling for anything less than what feels steady, honest, and aligned with the direction you've already committed to walking.